Welcome to Talking in Stations. It's Matterall. I'm here with my buddy Caleb. How you doing, Caleb?
Hey, guys.
We also have Rundle in the back seat.
Hey, riding backseat shotgun.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk some EVE Online with our friends. We'll try to do a 10-minute show, which should land us right around the 60-minute mark, just like we do it. All right.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right. Today we're going to cover... we have an announcement that the hotfix for the CPU is available. We'll talk about that first in just a second. We're going to talk about the login event, the Grand Prix that's happening, some of the skins and stuff that's been awarded. We'll plug the CCP stream that's happening with B.
John B.
Thank you. And then we'll actually talk a little bit about our new show that you should be watching every Tuesday and Friday, the European show with Caleb. That's why he's here today. And then we'll get into a war update and give you an idea of where we are in the war. Today is a very significant day, or actually I should say 2 days from now will be a very significant day, and we'll explain why in later on in the program. Okay, let's get started. So first thing up is the hotfix. What's the hotfix about, Caleb?
Well, due to the recent patch with the formation and everything, there was a bit of issues, weird things happening and bugs. And one of these bugs was, of course, a little bit worse than the other ones. People had massive increases in CPU usage, and some people actually got disconnected at random points. So people have been a little bit mad. But it looks like CCP has already found some of the issues, at least. So it looks like they're going to push a hotfix for this. I think that's already going to be pushed tomorrow at downtime, so we can have a nice weekend of playtime without any issues.
Yeah. Again, it was just a couple CPUs or CPU for EVE Online.
It basically it took you from if you were running around something like 15-20%, it suddenly yanked it up to like 40 and 60, and people were having problems with running their multiple clients and all that shenanigans. So it hit some people more than others.
Yeah, I did hear about that. So they're going to fix that up. Okay, so let's get to the bigger news today, and that is the Grand Prix that they're doing. First of all, there's login rewards. Let's show you those, because you should be logging in if you're not right now. Here they are.
I'm going to put my neutral face on. I have no opinions on login rewards.
Right. So anyway, here's a little snippet. The very first login reward was...
important. That one was important because that tied into our expert systems update that we just got, and that has been discussed quite a lot over the past week. And apparently we get one of these packs in the first login reward. So we are going to get I think it's the Interceptor package, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's already a freebie, which is kind of nice if you're participating in this.
And there is a timer, 7 days. You got to use it in the first 7 days, I believe. So,
good point.
Yeah, it's not tradable. It's not sellable. It is so choose the character, and then give it a try. So what I found exciting about this was, for purchase, is some very dedicated ones. And I have to admit, I honestly didn't think they have now the mechanism to put whatever they want in this little expert system. So this means for daily gifts or other things, like I guess they mentioned finally in one of the articles, they could put whatever they want in here. They could give us a Marauder pack. You want to try Marauders? Here you go. Go give some Marauders a chance, right? Only 7 days. I think that's really exciting. I hadn't thought it through to that level. So that really opens it up, I think, for CCP and possibly for the players to enjoy.
Especially because I think we're going to see a lot more of this event focus in the future because it's got so many benefits. It's actually a topic that we have on the schedule for the EU show for the upcoming week. We're going to talk a little bit about how future development is going to focus a lot about events and the benefits from that.
Yeah, one of the things that we've talked about here, I think on a couple or 3 shows, is the design process for CCP these days is split into 2 camps. I think it's still generally 2 camps. I think there might be 3. But the first one is to keep players that are joining the game going down the funnel of acceptance of the game, get them through the pain points and the friction points that would normally knock them out of the game just a little bit further. From the first hour to the first 3 hours to the first day to the first week to the first month to the first 3 months, the first 6 months, just get them further down that tunnel. And another group is basically keep the veterans happy, keep balancing their game, keep throwing them off so that they find new things to interact with. So keep the old players and help retain the new players that are trying this game, because there's definitely a lot of people trying EVE Online. That was one of the key features of last year, just how many people tried EVE Online.
And this is where the combination of CCP events and player events are, in my opinion, really important, that we get that ecosystem up and running, because I think Rundle just said, "What didn't we already have this event?" No, it was a different event that we actually had this weekend. It was a player event,
right?
Where this one is actually a CCP event. So it's funny that you conflated the two, because how do you know the difference? Well, you don't necessarily notice if you're just participating in them of who the actual creator is. But and of course we've had CCP tournaments, and then we had player tournaments, and we're having one coming up, and not this weekend but next weekend, as far as I remember, with the Anger Games. So I just like to see how this ecosystem evolves, because it's definitely a little bit new.
Welcome to EVE Pulse Capsules.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm just totally connecting dots right now in my head over this. This maybe is even a way for CCP to help, promote or endorse or assist in player events, right? Imagine if we want to do a player event, whoever we are, whoever you are, and you're like, hey, I need a 3-day, and on day 1 you get this pack for, I don't know, whatever type of ship, and on day 2 you get this, and then on day 3 it's kind of a reward, and you get to log in and you get to come to this player event, and you know what? You don't. All you need is to log in and get the stuff to come, enjoy the community.
It's even possible that they could allow the partners to actually be able to hand out some of these expert packs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And have a set for each month, right? Because partners already get things like skins and stuff that they can do giveaways or rewards for events. So there's just so many things that could possibly evolve from this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
My brain is really connecting a lot of dots right now, and opens up a lot of possibilities. So, I think talked about this last week, and I was kind of, what did I say? I think I said I was underwhelmed, and I was super excited. Now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, just from a mechanism in the game, super exciting. And I hope CCP realizes maybe what they have here, and I hope it's really all by plan and design, not by luck.
Well, no, that's what I was talking about with the whole development cycles, right? You have those 2 teams at work, but the advanced team needs to, the whole philosophy in general, especially with veteran players affairs, where you want to keep people interested, is to experiment, probably with low dev time price point or investment, on some of the fundamentals of EVE Online. So events are a team that can experiment, right? In a limited and encapsulated way. So if the experiment goes wrong and players figure out how to abuse something, they can just say the event has expired. It was only a 14-day event, and now that mechanic that we were trying out, we have to figure out how to tune it better so that it doesn't get used incorrectly, or it just wasn't that popular, so we won't use it. And this is like a nice little encapsulated playground for them to try some things. And so I think experts coming into that just totally fits that idea. Go ahead.
I want to take part in the big player arranged event called the Big Bank Robbery event, when they start opening up the keys for the ESS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing they kind of put in their pocket when they built the ESS out, right? For those that don't know, that's the Encounter Surveillance System. It has 2 banks that get filled up. So as you're ratting a system, they're taking 40% of your income and they're moving it to 2 different banks. One is something that can be robbed at any time, and the second bank is something that's completely locked and inaccessible until CCP decides it's a good time. So they're saving.
We still don't have any. we have no idea what they're going to do when it comes to how you're going to open the reserve bank. We haven't been told. We've just been told there's going to be something happening with keys, and that's it. Still very excited.
Right. So the
Just
reason they're doing that, we think, if we look back in time to an event that was a gold rush, there's been a few in EVE history. But the problem is when those gold rushes are over, that can never be repeated. For instance, the last time I remember a big gold rush was when stations that were out in space put out by players were converted to fortizars that were temporary. So stations used to be permanent. You could only conquer them and take them over, but you couldn't destroy them. Then they changed over at a single point in time, at the stroke of midnight, they changed over to fortizars, which could be removed and destroyed. And so that was a gold rush to capture those systems because they would belong, those fortizars would belong to whoever owned the NPC station that was put down before. Or I should say the outposts or the stations that were used before. So the idea was get into as many of those stations as possible, conquer them as quickly as possible, sit on them, wait till the stroke of midnight, and you will inherit this fortizar that you can pick up and take home to a different region, or you could sell to a different player, etc., etc. That was a huge gold rush. But once it was over, you couldn't really repeat it anymore. They only turned, at the stroke of midnight, these stations turned to pumpkins only one time, and then it was all over. So this ESS design of having a really big jackpot in multiple regions and multiple systems, that is something they can turn on once or twice a year if they want to as an event.
And that's not, if we want to be a little bit maybe dramatic, it's got a lot in common with slot machines.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you play some of these modern slot machines, you get this bonus that just keeps ticking up that you can actually end up cashing out.
The progressives.
Yeah.
The progressive jackpots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's a very, very good Skinner box mechanism.
All right. So again, going back to the story, log in rewards and make sure you log in every day for the next 5 to, how many days is it? It's the 23rd.
7 days.
7 days. Okay. So,
yeah, but there's 7 sets of rewards.
Right.
Yeah.
So log in every day on every account, not every character, and claim your reward. There'll be expert systems that you can use. They will expire. So if you don't use them, they're going to go away. And it will allow you to participate in this event, the Grand Prix, which we'll talk about next. So that's an interesting thing, right? Like one of the things is they put together an event and some people can't participate. They don't have the right skills to participate. This shows you the power of expert systems, giving everybody a chance to participate for 7 days. What do you guys think of that? Rundle, you were on that earlier.
Yeah, I think the cool thing is as I think Rundle mentioned, the fact that the package that we are getting is fitted to the event, and not only that, as far as I heard, there's something about you also get a velocity boost. So it's going to be like hilarity all over, speed tanking everywhere. It's like, yeah, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, tomorrow's reward is you get a speed accelerator boost, right? And there's another one in day 6 of some sort, a warp accelerator as well. So there's a couple of additional toys they can throw in there to support your event, which is really exciting. Yeah, that's
there's a massive upside for me. I got to laugh at the fact that Willy killed himself in a yacht because he got stuck on environment in this whole thing because there was a bloodbath already started today.
Yeah, I think there's some smart bombing on some gates. So if you're going to run the event, just be careful. Maybe try and use some pings in a few systems. I mean, that might affect your time. But the other thing I'm just noticing here, which the nice thing is, they're all strung out for alpha characters as well, including the speed boosts. So you get to you do not have to be Omega to take advantage of this, and I think that's another excellent element of this new system. So hadn't thought it through, I guess, or in the earlier times where we had talked about this mechanism or elsewhere, and actually, yeah, like I said, I'm connecting a number of dots, and I like it. That's probably the real power behind this mechanism, I think, that we're yet to see.
I actually thought that was a big part of expert systems that people mentioned at the very beginning when we first talked about them, but after a while, people stopped talking about that aspect, which was login rewards seemed very a very natural place.
Yeah, I just really thought it was attached to dollars and attached to player experience in terms of I want to try something, not attached to the universe in terms of promoting or supporting large mass events.
Well, isn't that where our head goes every time? It's like, how's this affect me? How's this affect my competition? Are they
And
going
that's the
to
problem.
outcompete me?
But the criticism that I took part in was the fact that I think that they didn't do the math. This is what frustrated me, that it wasn't properly fitted and balanced according to the skill points you get in each pack, the cost of each pack, the equivalent training days, the equivalent conversion into Plex to Omega and Omega training. There's just something off about the numbers. I think someone mentioned that one of the packs is it just below $2 or something like that. But if you calculate it, it's really only 2 or 3 days of training. It's like that makes no sense, right? That's almost a ridiculous low amount of skill points for something that cost real money. Where if you converted it to real money, you should have had at least like 5 days of training. So you're like losing everywhere on this thing. It's just it's not equivalent in valuation. So I think it's a really good idea, again, because one of the things that I think is kind of cool is that, let's say that CCP gives you one pack for a specific event, like they just did now, which is basically things like interceptors and frigates and stuff. But let's say there was a player event similar to the one we had last weekend, right, where it was a mining event. Then you would want the barge pack,
Damn fan mining event. Yeah.
Then you would want the barge. So since CCP is not giving it for free this weekend or these 7 days, then you might want to buy that one because you want to take part in the player event instead of the CCP event, or vice versa. There's so many things that could happen with this new ecosystem if there's a lot of collaboration between CCP and the players.
Yeah, I'm just going to say in the audience, Valamir brings up an excellent point. You're thinking, and Caleb, your points are totally valid for an Omega player where I could actually train those skills, and maybe even with implants and other things that I already have, it's 3 days of training. But for an Omega, for an Alpha, in a somewhat new character, newish character, that completely removes the barrier of having to figure out how to get those skills and train them. And so there's an additional value cost to that money of value to the player where we're not talking about extraordinary amounts of money either. We're not talking about a $20 pack. We're talking a $2 pack. And so maybe the Plex value is like $1.25. Well, for 75 cents, I don't have to sub. I don't have to chase down books. I don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
I just $2 and I try it.
And there's the plan.
But I'm just pointing out that I think CCP should make sure that these things fit with slightly cost efficient. So I'm okay with incremental training.
Said like
access.
a spreadsheet warrior, a true spreadsheet warrior.
Okay, can we just get that one out of the way, because I'm talking to an EVE playing audience, right?
Yeah.
90% of these guys know how to do spreadsheets. This is what they're playing.
Yeah, your point is valid. I get your point. I think it's fair. Certainly they'll have to make sure moving forward that all of these packs, when it comes to the monetary side, is somehow balanced. Like the Magic 14, I think is $4, and the Barge one is $5 or something like that, maybe $6, something like that. And so there's these 4 exploration ones, which are $2 or €2, and then there's the Magic 14 and the other one.
Do we know what happens when you buy one of these? Do the skills light up as a temporary skills, or is there any distinction between them, or do they just disappear?
No, there's a new tab on your character sheet, and I think they, if I understand it correctly, they show up there.
Okay, so you can then see if you wanted to keep these, what you need to train and to what level.
I think that's how that works. I honestly haven't tried
that.
it.
I think $2, it's worth having a plan, right? I'm coming into this game alone. I don't know people. I don't want to research the internet to figure out how to become a miner. If I see that pack, I'll hit it, gives me the skills, and then just right off the bat, I know a direction to go in. Because there's some sneaky stuff to mining, right? Like the metallurgy. You don't think of that when you want to be a miner. That you have to learn that. You have to train that skill too.
I'd like to point out that I am quite impressed at the UI work that they've actually done on this little thing, because it's really well linked and hooked into all the things in game. So you can kind of see that if you want this ship, you have to get this pack, and then it's pretty much advertising itself inside the game client. A little bit of brilliant marketing from the UI guys. I would like to point out to the same guys, now that you're done with this, could you remove that horrible red button thing that we keep mentioning? And could you maybe give a little bit of love to the things that is quality of life?
Red dots? No, I have no problem with red dots, but I don't know. I guess. Okay, there were problems early on when the red dot came. It worked in a weird way, but they've fixed it substantially since then.
No, it's just funny because it's really well made, the UI for the expert system. They've done some really good work. It's both just enough nudge to be fair, but it's not really forcing you to do anything. So it's a little bit of a from a marketing point of view, it's really well done. Good job, CCP.
Pretty sure a few months ago they hired a new UI guy or an additional UI guy. I'm pretty sure, but. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? So the Grand Prix, we didn't really show that, but you know what we could do now is break into, why don't we show the video from CCP. It's a short one. It's only 5 minutes. Now we can see the skins on there. So shall we check that out?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Let's mute up for a second.
Welcome to EVE Pulse Capsuleers, your regular source of news from EVE Online. It's time to start your warp drives as the Federation Grand Prix returns as part of EVE's Rain Quadrant. Daily seasonal challenges will task you with getting yourself to the start line in the Luminaire system and then racing to a number of selected landmark locations within a designated time limit to earn rewards such as Luminaire Zenith skins and Grand Prix boosters until the 23rd of March. There are also daily login rewards for the Federation Grand Prix until the 23rd of March. Rewards include an expert system that will temporarily grant any pilot the necessary skills and skill levels to fly speedy interceptors, as well as Grand Prix boosters, more Luminaire Zenith skins, and thousands of skill points. During the Federation Grand Prix event, you'll notice that new landmarks have been added to New Eden. These are the Statue of Kribba, the Alliance Tournament Monument, the Project Discovery Phase 2 Monument, and the Dorium 2 Memorial. The quickest and craftiest capsuleers can also write their name into the history books of New Eden in the Federation Grand Prix Time Trials contest. Take part and get your hands on some great prizes by checking out the linked forum thread below to learn more about the contest, which will be running concurrently with the Federation Grand Prix event. There will also be a new Abyssal Proving Grounds event that will go live between the 12th and the 16th of March to coincide with the theme of the Federation Grand Prix event. You can engage in 1v1 interceptor combat with a special 100% ship velocity bonus. The Pulse will be back after these short messages from our sponsor.
Mute.
Welcome back to the Pulse. The much anticipated Fleet Formations update has now gone live in EVE Online. Also part of the Rain Quadrant, Capsuleers now have a powerful tactical weapon to wield on the battlefield. Fleets will be able to arrive at a location from warp in a variety of formations, such as point, sphere, arrow, wall, and plane, that not only look amazing, but can also be used to influence fleet behavior. There is also an additional relative or custom formation. Also as part of the Fleet Formations update, the new deployable mobile sinusoidal beacon is now available in-game. Intended for non-combat related travel and improving the ease of fleet travel by Sino, the mobile Sino beacon allows fleets to be deployed without the need for a dedicated Sino beacon ship. Brand new expert systems designed to help rookie capsuleers discover and experience new activities are now live in EVE Online. Expert systems provide specific virtual skills and skill levels for a limited time that cannot be extracted through the use of skill extractors. The first batch of expert system products focus on exploration, mining, and the core skills required to operate spaceships in EVE, commonly referred to as the Magic 14. The Bastions of War update went live in EVE Online in February, bringing changes to Marauders, heavy assault cruisers and more. The Bastion module now doubles the rate of fire for all large weapons while active, making Marauders an even more formidable element on the battlefield. Bastion duration has also been reduced to 30 seconds. Updates for heavy assault cruisers reduced assault damage control duration by 25%, reduced their passive hull resist bonus, and removed the bonus reduction to micro warp drive signature penalty with the goal of creating a more diverse fleet combat meta. Mixed Dimensions have released another batch of new ship models, and this time it's the well-loved and gorgeous Sisters of Eve vessels. The iconic and eye-catching Astero, Stratios and Nestor ship models can now be yours, so add them to your collection today. The popular Federal Police skins have returned to EVE Online's New Eden store for the duration of the Federation Grand Prix event. This skin is now also available for the Dominic's Navy issue, Thanatos and Vexor Navy issue, in addition to the hulls it was already available on last year until the 23rd of March. The 7th annual Frigate Free-for-All event took place in the system of Ualeta on Saturday, hosted by the notorious pirate group A Band Apart. During the course of the 4-hour event, a new record was set for the number of ships destroyed in a low-security system in a single day. The organisers also gave out thousands of free, fitted ships to players so they could get back into the fight. A surprisingly generous gesture for a bunch of bloodthirsty pirates. Congratulations to A Band Apart on a successful event, and we look forward to future frigate free-for-alls. That's all for another episode of The Pulse. Thank you for joining us. Check the description below or the comments on Facebook for more information on any of the stories that we've covered. Remember to hit subscribe to stay notified of any new videos that we post. Until next time.
Well, there you have it. So, yeah, what you were confusing, Rundle, is the Stay Frosty had their free-for-all that was just shoot 'em up. Apparently there was a ton of stuff destroyed. I remember hearing it from people that were doing it at the time.
Right.
And then there's the Grand Prix, which is a CCP event, which is basically a race to your death, really, because of smart bombs and LoSec. That's happening right now, and it's happening. I have it up on screen now. You can find it on the forums, and actually I'll put that in the channel right now. So
I think it's important to point out that if we're going to have this thing develop the way that it looks like it's developing, I think CCP is going to have to do some sort of combined calendar, so you can actually see how many events are actually going on and where.
yeah, so the funny part of this is it's Grand Prix is something that is historical, right? It was one of the first things that players did when they got into this universe in EVE Online. We're talking way back in 2003, was to have a race, right? So it was called Death Race like 2000 or something, and they you could fly any ship you wanted to, and you could kill your competitor that was next to you, but you were trying to race around certain systems.
Good fun, good drama. And back then, speeds tanking was crazy because you could stack all your prop mods and stuff. It was like walla walla.
There was there were no penalties for putting on what 3-4 afterburners.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was
every speed modifier, every prop mod, all of them, they all stacked, and it was like ridiculous math, like crazy numbers.
You mean I don't want to fit my ship that way? I want to go fast.
You imagine?
Well, I think if you broke it down, it was something like, was it 60 times the speed of light? It was completely bonkers.
Yeah, it was some crazy number.
Yeah,
really crazy, because we keep forgetting how fast we actually fly in this game, and how that math gets really silly.
Anyway, that's the first thing they did, right? Is you give people a sandbox, and the very first thing they do is race. And so here it is again in the tradition of that sort of a thing. And CCP gave all the skills, gave everybody all the skills to participate in this thing. And an interceptor, which is the fastest ship in the game, if you use it a certain way. So
can we just point out how beautiful that video was? Yeah,
it was really well done.
Wow,
it makes me sad when I see CCP's beautiful.
That racing video was like, wow. I felt like going back to my PlayStation 1 and playing Wipeout or something.
Well, I wonder if that wasn't.
God, this is so cool.
A lot of the stuff I'm seeing out of CCP, I know that formations video that shows the 4 different formations made by Corin Marr. You know, he's a great designer, great animator. He's part of TIS for a long time. I brought him into INN actually to do a lot of the INN work. and took him with me to TIS, and CCP picked him up, picked up Razorian too. So these are incredibly talented guys that deserve to be putting out stuff for CCP. They're also the nicest guys that are probably really easy to work with as well. So good for CCP.
Luckily, I'm Caldari, so I wasn't too upset to see no Galente ship in that promo. But I'm sure there's a whole lot of Galente pilots who think, yeah, nice guys, but where's my damn ship? But that's okay. I'll just point that out for them.
Yeah.
Well,
so
we had the representation in those nice Popo skins, right?
Yeah. Those are, the Thani. I really like the way that looks. Probably going to find its way to one of my Thanis soon, I hope.
I've always thought that the police thing, those, I don't know. I've heard in other games, to go off topic a little bit here, other games like Grand Theft Auto, I actually know people that play police in Grand Theft Auto. Like that's what they do. And there are servers dedicated to people who are playing cops and robbers. There's guys that just fantasize about playing cops.
Meryl, I'm going to stop you because we had this discussion and it was very long in the chat about justice and policing. And let's leave that because otherwise this is going to be a 3-hour show. Right.
I just think it's neat. It's neat. There's, cops and robbers. Kids have been role playing that for a long time.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, they're RP servers. Okay, so one of the problems though was that you have to go through a low sec system. So any new player that's buying this and getting involved in this tournament is going to die three jumps into this race. It's just going to die. So let us warn you right now. If you jump into low sec, you need to do what's called a ping, right? Pinging to the gate. Rundle, you said it earlier. What is that?
Yeah, so what you do is as you jump in, you will pick a celestial object, a planet or a moon or something. Try to do it somewhat close to the next gate. You try to figure that out roughly by distance, or you bring up the map if you really want to be super precise about it. And then you go to that object first, and then you go to the gate, your exit gate. And that changes your vector of approach to the gate. Usually the smart bombers will be setting themselves up. This is what these are. These are battleships with the area of effect weapons. They sit very close to the gate because when you warp right to the gate, you land in around 1,000 meters to 2,000 meters. And so they want to sit themselves fairly close so that when you land, you're in their area of effect weapon. So, but they can't kind of bubble the gate. That's not worth their time to do that. So they sit in line with the other gate through the system. So if you change your attack vector or your approach vector, then in general theory, you will miss the smart bombs. No absolute guarantee you will, but it gives you a higher probability that you will.
Yeah,
and of course,
it's kind of like a bank shot, right? Instead of shooting straight through, you're banking off something.
That's right.
Right, because somebody's got a catcher mitt right in front of the gate, so they're going to catch you and kill you. So you want to do a bank shot into the gate, and out you go.
And when you materialize on the other side, you're already 10 kilometers off of the gate, and usually the area of effect is like I said, about 5 kilometers on the area of effect. So you're already outside of the range of those weapons primarily, and so it's really mostly the exit gate you got to worry about.
I think it's kind of funny that I've heard there's a trail like 40 kilometers long of wrecks because probably smart bombers are jumping in front of each other to get the fresh meats. So
there's all sorts of techniques. I mean, it's a cat and mouse. Like I said, this is not a guaranteed method to ensure your success or your survival, but it increases your odds. It increases your chance of survival, but go out there, maybe get 2 or 3 jumps and get lucky, or the smart bombers have moved or something, or they're picking a planet, or they're picking the most common ping point, and now they're resetting their angle off of there, and they won't get all the main people, the people who think they're being smart or fun. It's just a cat and mouse game. That's really what it evolves down to.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that is the Grand Prix. Now, the interesting thing about this Grand Prix is you do it on your own time. They're not heats where you have to wait till people show up and then go and race against each other. So there are 3 different courses. You race each one. The first time you just kind of go through the course. It's not timed. Then you do it a second time. I believe at the end of the second time, you have like a timed run, and that's what counts. So I think it works that way. But anyway, here's your instruction set, and we gave it to you. Timed trials contest for the Federation Grand Prix. So check that out. All right. Caleb, let's actually, I think that's it for the CCP news.
So I should
oh, wait,
maybe
there's one
talk
more
about
thing.
this.
Sorry. There's one more thing, and that is tomorrow at 1400 UTC, CCP will stream.
1600.
You said 1400. All right.
No, I didn't. I said 1600.
I have it written down 1400.
Boys.
Okay.
Don't make me get in the middle of you two.
1600 UTC. Well, you tell us, Caleb. Go ahead.
What? The stream tomorrow?
CCP stream.
Well, it's basically it's going to be CCP is going to have Bjorn B on as a guest, and they're basically going to be showing some stuff about formations. So I would definitely tune in and see what they come up with. Maybe they even have some examples and some theory crafting, because some of the really nerdy people have already been theory crafting like crazy on this, and I know Pando's been covering it quite extensively on his stream, and been doing a lot of feedback with CCP. So this is exciting. This is like the first small steps on the formation stuff, and now I'm just hoping that we can see it being used in the war very soon.
All right. Normally, I don't show these pictures, but there were some fleet formations already created.
TTP, everyone, TTP. We got it. We got there.
What is TTP?
It's time to penis.
Well, explain what that is.
It's how long does it take the players to figure out how to take any feature that can actually be converted into a phallus and get it in there and do screenshots and videos and laugh about it. And of course, being since this is EVE Online and we know that CCP actually likes that kind of humor, so it's not that this is so inappropriate. I'm pretty sure that they named one of our game features similarly. Let's just leave it at that, right?
So there it is. The TTP for this feature was like under a few minutes.
Yeah.
And these guys even put bubbles on top, to make it even more
space worthy.
Yeah, and I think I saw this fleet going into a blue fleet, and it looked like so you get the idea. These guys right. That is on, I think that is on Reddit, but I'm not sure. Well, we'll just put a big kaboom.
It's a fact about EVE Online that it has one of the highest average ages of most MMOs, but we can pretty much revert to 12-year-olds in like a second.
Yeah. Where's the blue fleet? I gotta find that. I think that was in our Discord today. So I think one of our mods might have deleted it, but yeah.
But this type of creativity is just the lowbrow stuff, of course. But you get amazed at some of the things that people used to do with cans with big logos in space. I have no idea who has the patience to sit and do that stuff. But yeah, it's always been a thing in EVE.
Yeah, all right. I can't seem to find it, but it's out there. So
one other item on the Pulse, which I wanted to just see if anyone else picked up. I think someone in the audience did, when they were talking about the new portable Sino modular device, that they specifically say for non-combat. And maybe I don't know enough about the device yet, but why would they specifically say non-combat? Do you guys know?
Isn't that just because
that's its intent, but it's not necessarily restricted to non-combat, but that's what the intent was. Yeah, this thing, you can drop it off, you can stack them on top of each other. They last a full hour each. They're relatively hard to destroy. You have to shoot it for a little while. It depends on your ship. And I think they can be used in combat. I don't think there's any restrictions to that, but their purpose was to help people solo move themselves without always having to give up a falcon to do it, or a rapier or whatever the recon is. That's a $230 million ship, right? So the price tag was too high on casual movement. So that's what this is supposed to be for.
Yeah, it was just, I wanted to make sure. Yeah, I was just curious because, I was like, yeah, it just seemed odd that they would specifically say non-combat.
Yeah,
so
it's not. I don't think it's rules based, but let's take a look at just how beautiful that is, because I think that
there was another thing that's a little bit potentially relevant. I keep mentioning this because I'm still very curious about actually seeing what it is when someone figures out how it works. But in the Hobo Leaks, before patch, there was an entry that said Spectator Mode. And it seems to be tied into the Proving Grounds. So it looks like you are actually able to watch the Proving Grounds fights in some sort of spectator mode. I think that's really important because it ties way back to a very old now interview with Hilmer, where he talked about how tournaments and esports in the future could have something like spectator mode. So I just think we should keep our eyes on that one and see if there's things to come, especially because, again, we are having a tournament very soon. And after that, I'm sure there's going to be another one. And who knows, maybe some of the features that he talked about might actually enter. And I think that's a little bit exciting.
Yep. Yeah. And the very end part, which was the thing I was a little confused about, which was the player-based free-for-all on this past Saturday. I thought it was pretty exciting to hear that they set a new record for the most number of ships killed in a low-sec system. Yep. That's actually quite an accomplishment, actually. So good on you guys. Well done.
Also, the mining event was also a little bit crazy. Some of the numbers that came out of that has raised a few eyebrows.
Yeah, the 6 million. 6 million.
Yeah, those numbers were crazy.
Yeah, we're going to have to break that down in the Sunday show, I think, if we can get the data. That's a little bit worth discussing.
Pay no mind. Oh, here it is. Okay, so we don't usually indulge, but we're going to indulge today. Here is the blue fleet formation going into a purple fleet and simulating space kaboom. Okay.
A space bang. Yeah.
A space bang. There you go.
There you go.
All right. Oof. Enough of that.
You should feel privileged, audience, because it's very rare that the manual allows this kind of stuff.
It's a family show. But okay. We'll have to mark this one not for kids. All right.
Another shout out is the reason that I actually dropped in today. We premiered the Euro time zone show of TIS this Tuesday, McLeod and I. And we're going to have our second episode tomorrow at the same time. So that's 1900 UTC, peak Eve time. And tomorrow we have, of course, the things that we're kind of trying to focus on, which is game industry news relevant to EVE players and to how they connect to CCP. And then hopefully there will be a few interesting surprises as well. And the main topic, and we've actually invited Manroll to drop in tomorrow, we are going to try and cover and talk about the actual unique selling point of EVE Online. What is it that makes EVE so different from other games, and why can you not actually find an alternative to EVE Online? Of course, you can play other games, and we all do, but nothing can really take the place of EVE Online as a game, because it is just so unique in the entirety of the game industry, and we're going to talk about some of those things tomorrow.
Yeah. Check that one out. It's going to be every, Tuesday and Friday?
Tuesday and Fridays at 1900 UTC.
Not 1600? Okay. You're right, 1400 is really early, so I didn't put that together in my head. Okay, so 1900 Tuesday and Friday, check out our new show, which he just described to you, that being Caleb. I actually really enjoyed it. I sat and watched it live the whole time. So good stuff. And you got a nice number for a premiere show. That was
quite
really good.
decent.
Yeah.
And good and very nice comments. I think as we get better, it will also improve for the audience. So.
Well, there's
I
only
was going
one
to say the
comment.
audience is asking.
Okay.
Sorry, the audience is asking where is it? Same channel, right? Do you want to clarify where you tune in?
Right
Yeah,
here.
it's all TIS. This is all TIS products. That's kind of my job. Literally.
It's just here in Talking in Stations Friday mornings. So tomorrow. Or Friday morning for US. No, it's okay. Actually, I was going to say one of the comments that I didn't appreciate much, Caleb, was, I love this new show. I can't wait to see how it compares to the other shows, which is us. People who've had enough of me really like the relaxed nature of that one, kind of including me. So.
I think people should be a little bit excited because this is not the only thing that we're rolling out. There's a lot of things happening when it comes to our product line on TIS, and you're going to see some interesting things with potential one-shots and some new hosts and things like that. So check it out. Very soon, in a couple of weeks, you might start seeing a lot more content from TIS than you're used to.
Yeah, if you go to TIS right now, it is actually the middle show here, so you can check that out. But we've had such great shows. Rundle's been a big part of that. But yesterday we had Abby Rova, who showed us some of the Silk Road data that he was compiling, and
I named that.
Did you
claim
really?
That?
Is that you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I remember when we were talking about it. I said it jokingly in passing when we were talking about all the trade route stuff and the potential of Niaja falling.
Well, you
I said
definitely
it just as a joke, and then everyone just caught on. It was kind of funny.
You definitely said that before I did, but it was on Reddit, so I guess they must have picked that up from you.
We said it on the show. We were talking about it before it was really a thing because, yeah.
So I love that name. I think that name is right on the money. Right on the money.
And the graphic you used was good, and I think you had a really good comment from a listener, which was really nice, kind of validation, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. For that show, you mean? Yeah.
For that show about the Silk Road, right? So he was just relaying. Correct me if I get this wrong. I'm just going off memory here. Was just saying, well, look, I kind of was playing back then, and I was kind of upset that this 9 jump to Amar Jita back and forth kind of went away, and he had wished that there had been a little more, I guess, promotion and kind of knowledge shared about, the winding through the different trade hubs and the creation of what you guys end up calling the Silk Road. And so he was hoping, there it is. And so he was hoping, maybe I could have had that. Now, I think that's absolutely true. There could have been some more promotion, but at the same time, Eve is also a sandbox. I'm not trying to, just give a little context here. The players are left to explore and understand and learn so much of this. If they gave away all of the developer-based reasons, then that would take a lot of the immersive gameplay elements out of the game and the exploration elements of learning. Even though it sometimes only takes, a day to figure it out.
But Rundle, if you go back in TIS back catalog, I think you will find that we talked about the Silk Road before Niaja fell, and we covered it pretty extensively about what it could mean for the game.
Yeah, you guys did for sure. Yeah, for sure.
A lot. We talked about it at least for more than a week, pretty much all the time.
The comment being, though, that CCP can't step up and put out a news article. Hey, we're about to remove this station, or about to move this system, and it's going to kind of create this other winding pathway through the other trade hubs. Go check it out. We're doing this for you. I mean, they can't make a statement like that. They can't. But you guys can, and that's why you guys have the show, right? That's what the show's about.
That's the added value,
because it would have been a lie, because it was a surprise to the players as well. And it tied into all the drama with it was basically goons deciding to shift that system. Otherwise,
it was brave. It was brave saying.
It was brave saying defend it, and then goons picked up. Hey, Brave doesn't want this to fall. Let's go and make it fall, because as Asia has already told us, it was very unlikely to happen. It was only because they decided, oh, we're bored and not doing anything. Let's go and mess with highseekers.
Yeah.
Um,
Kalen Kylemore says he wouldn't have known about the Silk Road if he didn't listen to Talking in Stations. That is the advantage of listening to Talking in Stations and suffering through the whole hour, so you get all the benefit of the discussion. But yes, we've been talking about the implications of this when it was just a theoretical happening. Then when it happened, we did live coverage on it happening, and we talked about the Silk Road possibility when you break the connection between Jita and Amar. And yes, we were talking about it a lot, and especially in those terms, but not everybody listens to Talking in Stations. So I think his point was he wouldn't have quit had he actually thought it through. But CCP can't think for you in that way. By the way, we did meet this guy. This guy that wrote the comment. Smart guy, and he's got a lot more to say. So we'll try to talk to him a lot soon. Go ahead, Caleb. Sorry.
I just if any of the audience today had the stamp of me being public enemy number one, they would also enjoy some of those episodes, because I literally had to sit there and eat a straw hat in front of Ashtarothi, because I have been teasing him quite a long time about NPE not really mattering in EVE, and here we had actual NPE content, or rather player versus environment content that had massive effect on the game, and that's not really something that I see a lot of. So I had to give him a big apology and admit that, okay, this Triglavian stuff, it did have an impact.
It mattered.
I'm of the opinion, right or wrong, but I'm still, my conviction, my opinion is that Narja was destined to fall or be removed anyways, period. I think that was one of the core backbone decisions that we can't be told really was a decision by CCP. Come hell or high water, that system was going to be removed and moved to, Triglaive space, because they wanted that 9 jump break. I think they really wanted to do that. I don't think it really was in our I don't think it was in our control to make it happen or make it not happen. That's my opinion.
That's tinfoil, because then you're saying that the events were rigged, and that's not what I see.
Well, no, I don't think the whole thing was rigged. I think the breadth and the depth of what was going to happen was all within the player's realm. But I think the key element of Narja was going to happen one way or the other, because otherwise the entire storyline folds without it. And you have to have a development. You're developing the whole storyline. You're not going to develop a storyline and not have an end that you want to finish developing through. Otherwise, you end up wasting a lot of energy, artwork, time, and effort to develop something that can't happen because the players completely rose up and prevented it.
What we know of that through Ashtarothi's research is that there was a range of systems that would fall. So there's a minimum of, I believe, 9, I think, and a maximum. No. I think the way that CCP said it is, if no systems change, in other words, if the players side with Edencom and do not let any of the Triglavians kidnap any of these systems, and then Poshman can't be created, I think was a reality. So anyway, it's a different discussion. We'll get to that another time with Ashtarothi and others. But I do want to say the reason, Caleb, by the way, the most influential event of 2020 was Poshman, right? It wasn't this war for Talking in Stations. It was Poshman. And although the war was a close second, it was an NPC driven event that will have the longest repercussions in this game, we think, from that year. So there you go. Okay, should we talk a little bit of war before we take off?
We kind of have to, and I can actually say that I agree with you, because I think for the first 4 months of what everyone called a war, I didn't call it a war because there was just not the numbers yet.
Let me get rid of all this explosion, space bangs. All right, here we go. This is important. It's kind of like we buried the lead, but in a couple of days, well, let's put it this way. Right now in Delve, if you are there, you are getting ready in the fortress walls for the enemy that is all around you and coming your way. And the sirens are going off and the sun is setting and you're about to go into nighttime when you know the attack is coming. That's the melodramatic scenario that you're in right now. And they are shouting, get the last of the ships out that are going to make it out, because in 2 days, this system here will be jammable. F2O. When that's jammable, you are essentially jamming the last jump path out of Delve. So I think we're getting down to, like, as far as getting out of Delve, if that's what you had planned to do, you really need to take a look at what's going on right now, because in 5-6 days, it will be too late to escape with your super capital or capital ships. Here's what happened. Early on, there was many routes from, oh, by the way, these systems here have keep stars. That's why we're talking about super capitals, right? Like if you have a capital ship, you might risk it going some other way if you're in 1DQ, which is where you should be at this point. But it used to be you could get out this way, you could go north, but one SMEB was destroyed a few weeks ago by NC. And just the other day, this exit going towards Fountain, that keep star was destroyed in ZXB just a few days ago. So those two exit points gone. This chain is the last chain out, and this system, I believe, is about to be jammed in 2 days. And at that point, once that happens, you can't get through that system. You'll have to go around it, which is very dangerous in your ship. And once it's jammed, the keep star there will be targeted and destroyed. And then jammed or not, there just won't be any method of using that as an escape route to get out. So I kind of feel like it's a very dramatic moment for people who want to evacuate from 1DQ. That said, people who've decided I fought with my friends, I'm gonna die with my friends in this foxhole on this castle wall. Those people, they don't need to pay attention to it. But if you're not one of those people, better hurry.
Well, this is really the large-scale Kessel, right? This is the Iron Curtain coming down around 1DQ. Just like you could claim that M2 was a little bit of a small-scale Kessel where you had them hunkered down and locked in that system. This is just a bigger version of the same thing. Now it's being shut off. You cannot get out after this, at least not in an easy way. There's going to be slight workarounds where you can sneak out, like backdoor wise, but it's going to be tricky.
Very dangerous.
So it's now or never. But again, as I've said before, and Willi has said it as well, the majority of stuff that's actually that people wanted to evacuate has already been evacuated. So this is more like the situation that you talked about in the interview, where people might change their mind and be a little bit frustrated, and then it's too late, right? You're not getting your stuff out now. If you have hunkered down and said, okay, I want to be part of this, you're not going to get a second chance of changing your mind. You're going to use it or lose it.
Let's take a look.
Or take an asset safety bill, right?
Yeah, but then you're in Ermelin, which is right up here. I think I saw it. Oh my, it's here somewhere. There it is, Ermelin. It's right on this edge. And that has a fraternity keep star in it. And so that will be camped. I'm not sure what that means, the implications, but once you undock from an NPC station, you cannot dock up again. And this whole area back here of Canid and Aridia, these are all heavily patrolled. So if you're in Ermelin with a super capital, it is going to be tough for you to find your way out solo. Maybe with this new, what do you call it, mobile Sino, it might be a little easier, but I don't know. Let's take a look at this other thing that's happening. This is the status of, let's see. Yeah. This is the status. Those represent structures that are extra large or large in Delve. That's what's left. If it's crossed out, that means there's just medium structures and below. So those aren't counted. But I am really shocked at some of this, because if you look up here at Helm's Deep, right? Helm's Deep is this whole area here.
Ridiculous.
look at how much stuff was in there. I mean, 8 extra large structures here, 5, and this has already lost a couple Satio, or a Satio at least, maybe 2. 7, 10, 5. I mean, there was a lot of infrastructure here. I'd
This
heard
is
that
what I
before,
call
but
this is what I call the big game of grenades, right? You're basically gonna hammer on all of these structures because they do want to take them down, right? Willie said that, and I think he also did a little bit of math that they're like 15% done or something like that, compared to from the beginning of the war. But he wants to chip them all away, and every single time you risk that there's some sort of defense or harassment going on, right? And you can't tell what's in them. There can be a little bit of a grenade under each one of those.
yeah. I think strategically what's happening here is called islanding. I didn't know this concept until earlier today, but by getting rid of F2O, you essentially create an island, and what they're going to do is just dig out all around 1DQ, all possible reinforcement points, exit points, anything that Pappy would have to worry about behind them. They're going to try to get rid of that. They're also going to flatten the space for a while. I think they're going to be getting a bunch of kill mails if all these things go uncontested, which they may not. There may be a lot of resistance points in there. But right now, with the odds the way they are, with the progress that we've seen in the last 2 weeks, it just looks like Pappy is going to be able to get through any resistance that Imperium puts up. And it's going to be rewarding Pappy with victories and kill mails for a while before they basically start climbing up the walls of 1DQ. And then we'll see really the end game for this this
is
conquest.
what I laughed about a little bit because, as Willie pointed out, everyone wants to get in on these big structure kills. But I think before we reach the number 40, I think people will be a little bit bored of getting on kill mails. I don't think they're going to be that hyped to have a complete list of being on every single kill mail or anything like that. Padding your kill mail with these is just going to end up being a little bit of a grind fest. But it's some work that needs to be done, and it will be done most likely, but it's going to take some time.
Definitely take some time. We're talking months, not weeks.
Yeah.
This is going to be months of basically it's going to be months of destroying things. Whether you consider that work or play, I don't know. I would consider it work,
I think the plan, if I'm not mistaken, is to take down like 5-ish and then try to do a hit, and then take down 5 and then try to do a hit. Because as Willie said, 1DQ is going to take potentially many attempts, quite a lot of attempts, before it succeeds. And there's a lot of toys in there, so could get a little bit bloody.
It'll get a lot bloody, I think. But we're not there yet. I think if you look here, you see there's still a lot of work to be done. Most of the south area here that we said was kind of a cleanup is, you can see why. There just wasn't a lot of structures in there. But this was the last Goon Swarm system outside of this constellation, and that is now gone. This flipped over today. So everything else is out of the hands of Goon Swarm except the constellation of 1DQ. As you can see, a lot of work's already been done in this area because there just doesn't seem to be a lot of structures here. Either there weren't any to begin with, or a lot of them have already been destroyed. Some constellations like this one here and this one down here have already been taken out. This one up here with 1 SMEB. Everything extra large and large has been taken out of these areas.
But again, I would like to point out that I think Willie and Pappy's attitude that because all of this is so successful, there's nothing else going on. I don't think he's that naive, because there's a lot of characters and members of the Imperium that are not in Dell right now, right? That are out and doing stuff and burning the backfields and doing disruption. And I don't know exactly how it's going to play out. I just don't think they're just going to sit passively and just watch all this destruction without trying anything. I joked with the fact that to me it looks a little bit like they've swapped homes, right? what if they're going to push hard on Test's home country while all this is going on? What are they going to do then? Where's the focus going to shift? Because I think I'm not going to say that Goons have admitted that they've lost Delve, but I think they kind of have in one sense or another. Of course, they need to finish that final big bang, but I think they're looking for new strategies and ways to move forward.
Wow, I'm gonna pause a minute to take that in. You think other? I'm kidding around with you because you and I constantly argue about like what's the condition of the war. At times you've said like there is no war. Look at the economic damage that's being done. It's like, and I could see that from one perspective. There was just so much stockpiles and money available to these players that even fighting for months and months and months didn't register as pain to them, and they all still felt safe. But now it's coming to a point where that feeling of safety, I think that's going.
Yeah, well, it's gone. Delve is fallen, and there's only one DQ left, right? That's pretty much the scenario right now. That's not really something that I think most goons will deny. I'm just saying that goons have or Imperium has a tendency of having plans within plans and always thinking like a little bit far into the future. And as I mentioned before, if I'm not mistaken, about 25% of all the wealth has already been extracted from Delve, and some of that might be in some NPC stuff, and some of it might have been distributed out elsewhere, and even ended up in HiSec.
Their summer
and
homes.
Again, well, yeah, and there's also a lot of Imperium players that actually frequent wormholes, so some of it might actually be in there. And just from the Cabal point of view, as we've talked about before, I can't give you precise numbers because I don't have actual insight, but I know the numbers that's been moving because I got crushed by this. So they have a nice nest egg in Jita. This is not really a secret to people that have actually kept up to date all the way back to the fat years. And of course, they still have participation and membership in the TTC, so they're still getting massive amounts of money each month, right? So there's a lot of things that need to happen before you can really call a win, because right now, as I said before, the destruction numbers are not up to the level where it's really, well, it's gotten there now, but that's only because of structures, which you can say, and this is not a goon-splaining, you can say that they're written off, right? Because that's the risk when you put structures down. This is the same for any organization. So yes, it's a loss, and it will be noticeable on the destruction numbers. But the other wealth, the chattels, the movable wealth, that's not really lost. They have a lot of that now still, and they have extracted a lot of that. So yes, they're going to lose most likely quite a lot, but they also collected a lot of cash to actually be able to pay for the extractions for a lot of that. So they're not going to end up being that poor on the other side. So as I said on the show, where everyone raged at me, yes, you can say that it's a win when 1DQ falls, because it is. But if goons are almost untouched, which is what it looks like from here, they haven't really lost that many people, and neither have Pappy. So when it comes to fatigue, people have tanked it. They haven't left the game. So you're going to have a pretty strong Imperium still. They have no home. They have to figure out where to get a home, but they have wealth. They have weaponry. And unless Pappy is willing to do a 2-to-1 exchange with all the big toys in 1DQ, some of that is going to still be available to fight, right? So you can't take them off the map. And the big boy in the Pappy club is still the Pandas, right?
I think they are taking them off the map, literally. But Rundle, let me bring you in on this. What are your thoughts on this situation?
Well, I'm listening intently to Caleb. Delve has fallen. As a
Did that
happy
hit you
member.
as hard as it hit our crowd and myself?
Yeah. It was just
Yeah. It's that voice, I think.
especially followed on with I think most Imperium members would admit it. That also blows me away because in other talk shows and other just casual conversation, I don't hear any Imperium members admitting it. So to me, it's a little eye opening, just personally. But I think this. I appreciate what he's saying, and I actually agree. I think there's solid planning in the background. Imperium is well known for having plans within plans, as he said. It's foolhardy to think that you can wipe Delve off of the map in terms of structures and somehow the whole thing just crumbles just because. That's not how the Imperium has ever worked. The question of control and control of space and control of the mind of the game in terms of who and where, and if you counterattack, we're still going to be there, sort of thing. That's to me the next chapter, right? What happens after the war? I really don't think there's a lot of theory crafting around. We're going to kind of enter into this period of quiet. We will have a period where everyone will be like, okay, good, that's over. But I think hot on the heels will be, counter pushes, counter people who just want to continue to fight, maybe try to do a bit of a land grab in other areas. I think there's going to be like a watchdog situation where if the Imperium really tries to do anything, we'll be there. We're watching. We're waiting. That sort of is my feeling of what's the next to come. And so that could go either direction, to be blunt, right? That could go either direction. They have a concentrated group of people with a lot of money, a lot of firepower, and possibly the right motivation at that point in time to then really do something different and concentrated and focused. So, the war will be over until the next war starts. That's really what I believe.
The
And
continuum of war.
the geography is what is exciting to me. Of course, we all know the big players in the game, but it's Delve. Who wants Delve? Well, Test might, but do any of the other Pappy forces actually want Delve or want to hold or live in it? And if they just want to rent it out, rental space is not really as defendable, right? If you don't build up your infrastructure in this new normal of the game, you don't have the same defensibility. So I don't think that is a solution. So then it's going to end up being who is going to try and take what space, how much do they want to invest, can they actually get their crabbing up and running again, because ISK doesn't create structures. So there's just so many things. And then, of course, I asked the question, what's the new power distribution going to be? Because what is Pappy going to insist on staying together just to try and chase the Imperium around the map to kill them? I don't think so, because no one in there with a bit of a brain will believe that that's a goal that can be achieved, right?
Well, what does staying together mean, though? Does that mean we just don't fight each other, or we don't, your friends and friends against your biggest enemy, and then when the biggest enemy isn't doing, then you can go back to doing what you're doing. But if they, raise their head again, then you stop what you're doing and you go squash that, right? So in other words, Pappy could go and do Legacy and all the other things and do whatever they want to do, but Imperium raises up, then we stop what we're doing and we focus on that. In terms of Delve, yes, people are moving there. Delve, people are excited about making that home. It is home now. That's the way you even hear Billy saying it. Delve is my home. And in terms of like the renter architecture, it's not really how they work. Sure, there's a flow of ISK and elements for ISK and resources to a degree, but it's not based on a rental system of if you don't pay your bill, it's hard to describe. It's just a collective is the better way of putting it.
All right.
Well, and so
go ahead
the
and
groups do want to be there and defend each other. Go ahead, sorry.
All right, yeah. Let me just bring this in from El Wazreal, or Always Real, sorry. Always for real says, isn't Test going to live in Delve now? And how will Test fare after Pappy dissolves? That's a question I've heard a few times.
Well, but the question is dissolve the right term? It's more like
Stand down.
Yeah, it's the stand down and well, I'm going to call it go home, because after this, especially if 1DQ ends up a bloodbath, right? Then you're going to see, in my estimate, you're going to see about almost 2,000 Titans die, right? This is a realistic number because that's pretty much what's been on field. So if those Titans die, let's just say that it's half, they need to be replaced somehow. All those losses in that bloodbath, people will need to lick their wounds and rebuild. And I've mentioned before, and I think Brave is going to come back better than before. They might be very much in the mood to actually go and lick their wounds somewhere. And I think that's true for most groups, and especially if it's a disproportionate sacrifice. If PL and Horde loses proportionally massive amounts of supers and titans compared to the other groups, they're going to say, okay, we're going to need to rebuild, so we're going to go home for a bit, but we might let the blue donut, quote unquote, stand and still be hostile and try to chase Imperium if they're trying to settle somewhere. But then it's just a new map, and it's a completely new normal, and it's what, when I talk to Elise about this, I feel like that's a reset almost of the server.
Well, we only have a few more minutes, but let me just get some time in here, because I think we're all looking at this at yesterday. We're looking at this with the way things are yesterday, not the way things are tomorrow. And there's still 3-4 months of war, and I know NC is on a mission. I know Horde is probably on a mission. I'm pretty certain Test is on a mission. You might say Test was fighting for survival, because if this didn't go well, they were going to get next, but they're definitely on a mission. I know NC has got like the next, they're like, don't bother me. Do not disturb for the next 4 months while we take care of this old bill they want to do. Mm-hmm. They're focused on this more so than Test or anybody else. Anyway, after this clears up, the world's already changed underneath everybody's feet. Nullsec isn't what it used to be. You can see that, ratting for big money just isn't Nullsec anymore. It's a different beast, and it's still changing. Who knows what it'll be in 4 months? The money right now, if you want to be smart, is to look at a group like Fraternity. What are they doing? Because they're not really engaged in this war. It's not in their time zone. So what are they doing? They're moving to shallow null. They're putting Keepstars in low sec, and they're investigating Poshfen. They are covering their bases for tomorrow. And I think
gameplay-wise, they remind me a little bit of Darkness and GOTG, right? They're really good at what they do, and it's very much about being productive, right? They will be the new Rich Kid, as far as I can tell. Whether that will turn people against them, as chat is implying, I don't necessarily think so. I think they're going to be part of a new geopolitical split, and I think it's going to be a 3-way split, which I think is potentially healthy for the game, because then you're going to have these almost Mexican standoff things happening, where you can split groups from each other and have very strange and interesting fights across the map, and I think that is going to happen.
It's not just about money. It's about goal setting, goal achieving, and active participation from a player base. The leaders of these groups want people they can utilize to tug of war and win. And the way that you keep people around you is you keep them meeting their goals. If their goals are money, the money's not in Nullsec alone like it used to be, because what happened for the last 5 years was lazy money. Sit back, AFK, and the money will just roll in. Big money will just roll in as long as you're with us and protected by us. That is a scenario for what happened over the last few years. But that scenario is gone. The new scenario is diversity of fun. Keep you active, keep you doing things. A little Poshfen, a little gate camp, a little low sec stuff, a little commerce, a little bit of nullsec stuff, maybe some renting. Sure, that's been here since day one. It probably will never go away. But the idea is a diversity of income, a diversity of activity. You're not just here to make money so that you can PvP. You're actually PvPing against other players constantly, and you're probably fighting PvE that is pretty formidable.
But Marol, I think it's going to come down to 3 key points, and I have mentioned them before. It's what I call the veteran effect. So the people that are actually really old school and really good at the game. So the very good FCs, the very good Sky Marshals, the very good leaders of groups. That's going to be massively important. This is also why, even though everyone's keeping their eyes on fraternity and all the money, I don't think it compares to organizations like NCPL, PH, all these old school guys, because in the new normal that CCP is bringing in, this is going to be vital. The second is, how do you utilize space? How do you build out your empire? Empire building will be the preferred model. I know that people like rental, but rental is not going to be as easy or as profitable in the new normal that CCP is rolling out. And when it comes to the last, it's really about the interplay of who will be allied with whom. And this is not just about money. We had this discussion before this chat. Influence is very much about old relationships. And I think these are going to be the crucial things on the other side of this war. And you're going to see some things that might not have been expected. I did not expect the disbanding of that latest group from the Imperium. It was a little bit of a shock, also because
Talking about
now they're
elitist ops.
Yeah, and how they are now joining Snuff. That means that Snuff is going to get a power injection of a massive size, right? So
they need it. They're going into a war, which we'll talk about later. But I mean, next time. But go ahead.
I just think that people should get ready for potentially a lot more fun than the last year of war.
So I think I'd add a fourth one. I like your three. I like your three items. The fourth one for me would be movement, troop movement of ratting, movement of mining. The ESS changes, the indexes, and being able to move and have access to commerce or access to different types of gameplay for large numbers of memberships, gate systems, holding down constellations where you can move around. That is one of the attractive things with Delve and the interaction with Quirius. Is there is really there is a bit of a choke point element to it, and if you do things right, you see the effects, just like Imperium did. It takes a long time with an enormous amount of people to break in and break down the door to get in. And so if you have an area of space like that and you can set up your defenses correctly with those three things that you mentioned and add in, I've built up a way to move my people around, to keep them happy, to have content, and to remain mobile enough to address all threats, and as well as take advantage of all positive elements, then I think those are your 4 steps to success moving forward.
And if these organizations were companies with shares, I can tell you the ones that I would buy into right now would be, I would buy some NC shares, I would buy Bastion shares, I would buy Brave shares, and then I would buy up all the Junk Bond Sword Dragon shares.
Junk Bond. That's funny. Sword Dragon is out of the game at the moment. I still think you're looking backwards. I feel like we'll end with this. There was a time where I was talking to the archivist. I think I've said the story before, but I'll say it again. The archivist, the guy that handles all the film and filing for the American Film Institute, which is one of the few professional schools if you want to become a filmmaker. And he was saying, what's funny about your generation? My generation, if it wasn't in your hands, it didn't exist. Your generation, you don't want anything in your hands, but you want access to everything. And I thought that was what's going on here. It's not about owning territory anymore or owning a kingdom anymore. I think it's actually splitting into multiple levels. My son is having a great time with some other game, but it's no longer about possessing a thing. It's about being active in many things you don't possess. I think that's the future.
But that's granted by someone.
The game, the environment is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but it's controlled and granted by the people that hold the space and facilitates all those opportunities.
That's where the relationships and the power are. important. And that's
which is why I said the old school guys will be more important.
If they can offer access to Poshfen, if they can offer access to what goes on in LowSec, if they can offer access to any of those things, there's going to be a number of diplomats and power brokers that become important. Not anyone who can consolidate all that into one package, because again, it doesn't belong to anybody. It's a function of the game. And I think that is very interesting, but we won't ever get to that anytime soon. That's at least 4 or 5 months away. Right now, it's still War and Delve. That's the big thing. But this is an end of an empire that is signaling the end of an era. Make no mistake about it. This is the war to end wars. This was like the end game. And what's after is still imaginative. Like we still don't know what's going to happen. Okay. That's all we got today. I think we just blew the whole weekend. Weekend stuff that we had material is all blown here. So we'll have to just replay this episode. All right, guys. Thanks very much for joining us, Caleb. Rundle. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys being here.
Good times. Thanks for the time.
All right. And thank you guys for watching us today. We'll be back tomorrow one last time. Again, do not miss tomorrow at what time?
1900 UTC.
For the European show. What's it called now? What's the actual title?
It's just the EU TIS.
EU TIS. All right. Well, we'll find it. That's good enough. All right. So
or Euro TIS.
Yeah, make sure you watch.
Hold a naming contest. Hold a naming contest. Give something away.
Yeah, we have a skin. We have a couple skins.
Some skins. We have some partner skins.
Yeah.
There you go. See.
Make sure that you're there for that show. We'll make sure to talk about why you should be playing Eve and why it's different than every other game, and why if you leave, you'll come back if you really want the highest level of challenge. So that's all tomorrow on the European TIS show. I'm going to go join my son now because he's having a great time with something. Okay, thanks, guys. We will see you next time or tomorrow on Talking in Stations.